Dr. Knag,
Dr. Bilo.
where are we right now?
Well, this was the last video we wanted to do, and it was supposed to be at a construction site where we look at the construction site, look at the things, how they are done, and start arguing if this is good or bad, or if we need to, say, give comments to that. And we started looking for a construction site. We asked our friend, I asked friends, we have a construction site where we can have a look, and well, they know us.
Same here. What, you want to come with your camera and do a video what went wrong on our building site? So, thanks, no. So therefore,
okay, so this didn't work out. So we needed to find luckily the two of us did build the facade. We engineered it, we did build it. It's a family house. So we were able to look at the facade, construction site, which we actually did ourselves. So we got a about our own mistakes.
So let's have a look at your house, the two of us built together.
Yes.
So what do we have here?
So it's a family house. You see it's 2 floors high. It's kind of a similar setup as the design which we engineered in this video. It has a solid outside structure. It has a well-developed out of the system detail. It's a timber stick system, different supplier than the one we used in the videos, but a timber stick system as a setting. And we integrated a timber door in this system. And that's mainly it. What went wrong?
But yeah, what went wrong?
What went wrong? Interfaces are always interesting. Interfaces are always an issue. So this one went well. This is an, say, well-developed interface from the outside, but interface between the stick system, aluminium wood, to a timber door, that's quite a point. Why is that? Because the aluminium doesn't have any difficulties with outside environment, while the timber itself, you see, at some point this is going to be an interesting issue we need to discuss. Bottom part, same. It's same kind of door detail as we did in the sketches, but in our sketches we argued that you have to have some space below to allow rain to not directly be reflected to the facade. And when we look at it, it really happens. So I decided that time I want the tiles here, I don't want gravel.
So what you have is a problem of rain spill. The water hits the ground and it reflects or spills on the facade. Yeah. Usually a strip of gravel or something like that, or a gutter would actually help. Okay, we have a gutter in our details, so therefore now we know better.
That would help. And then another one, we wanted this aluminium system, we wanted the timber structure, we did buy this at different suppliers, logistic was a nightmare.
Yeah, I can remember. So what we had is, the aluminium was already here, but the wood wasn't.
The wood wasn't. We needed to wait for the wood. Then the wood arrived, luckily, and we were able to, say, connect all the details. But then having this really flush, having this really precise in the details out of the system, that's an issue. We have some issue over there where it didn't work out perfect, which means that you replace the glass, you fix it with the pressure plate, and then if you fix it too solid, it may tolerances.
So it's in principle, what you can already see is we have on the mullion and the transom, they're not on the perfect height for the glass ceiling, so therefore there was a twisted sort of situation, and then when you put pressure on the pressure plate, then you crack the glass.
Side note, this one and this one is supposed to be on different levels.
Yeah, of course, from the outside, but the
main plane structure from the inside, the sealant, that should be at the same level. Precisely. And that didn't work out, and we got some breakage at some situation because of too much pressure.
I also remembered because the doors were also made at a different company that we had tolerance issues, that we had to sort of trim a little bit of the doors to make it fit.
To make it fit, so changing the system within the system is always an issue and always creates logistical and technical nightmares, and warranty is an issue as well. We did build this facade, so warranty is anyhow with us, and then it's a different topic.
Dr. Knag, what are we doing right now inside?
Dr. Bilo. Well, we were looking at the whole facade system from the outside. We explained where it comes from, but now we need to talk about, say, an organized and structured layout of the aspects we need to take care of.
Of course, because your little building site and we are responsible, we did all the mistakes by ourselves, but on a big building site, there's way more problems that we can't discuss here because there is no miscommunication or delivery whatsoever. So we also have to talk
Towards
about
us, we sometimes miscommunicate. Okay.
So it's kind of like,
Stop now. So the topics which we need to address, it's the system and the quality of the system, the logistics which were necessary also in our project, and then the quality of the existing part and the part which we did build new. And that's what we're going to discuss now from inside.
system.
System.
No, in this case, here we have a wood. We have a wood stick system.
Stick system. Well, a wood stick system. It's a different supplier. This one is a different supplier, but it doesn't matter. It's actually the same kind of setting
Precisely.
as we used it. So system, logistics, qualities. When you talk about system, the system needs to complete. Okay, this is obviously complete, but the question is, how are intersections done? Are they all complete? How are the connections done? That's something which is which you need to discuss. And then the quality of the system.
Yeah.
So is all the drainage in position? How can you secure that if water gets in there, it finds its way out? How is the intersection? How can glass be positioned? That's something which needs to be part of the completeness of the system. Second phase, interfaces. So when we look at the facade and we look at the side part, this is the interface where it needs to go to the solid. It's quite equal to the sketches we did. It's a solid structure, then the facade is in position. So how's the interface between the facade itself and whatever comes here? That's something which is in the system. It's part of the completeness of the system. It's part of the quality of the system. And then
In our case, it was quite simple because we designed and engineered it entirely, and we also built it ourselves. So we ordered exactly what we planned with, but in real life,
that's a quality logistics. Give me a second.
okay,
Give me a
okay,
second. And then interfaces of the system to other components. So what we did here, we added a timber door, self-built timber door, which was not part of the system. And that means the interface of the system and the timber door needs to be brought into a setting.
I could remember that we had to fix it somehow. It was a little bit too high and also a little bit too wide.
So we need to squeeze it.
Precisely.
So if you change components in a system, then you have to take care of the interface. Second topic, logistics. Everything has to be delivered on time. You tell.
Yeah, this was in here. This was kind of like tricky because usually you get the wood and then you get the aluminium and you screw this together to have a wood stick system. We did this and we got the aluminium on time and the wood was still not
The wood
there.
was missing.
The wood was missing, so in principle we couldn't start at all. So we had to wait. So this delayed the entire system. If the glazing would be coming later, yeah, then you have an open building, but you may...
But the main structure?
The main structure, that was something, yeah, really bothered.
And as you can see, the wood itself needs to be obviously also to be manufactured. So there needs to be junctions, there needs to be joints to be done. So that was a thing. So everything in time, and then it needs to be complete. Yeah. Imagine you're installing short before rain and a last little piece of gasket is missing.
Yeah.
So you have to, when you get it, you have to make sure it's complete. Then you need to be able to build it, which means you have to have the tools necessary. For this system, it was a certain kind of cutter device for the gaskets. Yeah. But you also need to be able to get up at a certain level. So scaffolding, cherry picker, whatever is necessary, that needs to be there. People need, well, that was us. People precisely. need to be there. So the logistics of getting the people at the right time to do something, and then something which we can rarely influence. Predefined work needs to be finished. The walls need to be there.
Yeah, of course.
All the finishes of the walls, all the finishes of the floors. That needs to be...
Yeah, and this was us building everything, so we were responsible for everything, but it's also the way that in a bigger building site, everything has to be coordinated. Yeah. And there's a couple of companies involved, and there might be even a woodworking company coming, setting up the wooden main structure, and then facade company adds the profile system, for instance. That it also has to be precisely timed, coordinated. But in a bigger project, in our case, we have designed, engineered, and chosen the products, and we just bought it. So we knew exactly that all the interfaces and the joints worked as we have drawn them. But on a bigger project, there might be changes because they may change the system, they may change companies.
You change to another system, and then things may change in the interfaces.
Because there was a delivery delay and they want to proceed with the timeline, and then they had to pick something else. And then that's the moment where the issues come.
That's the moment where the issues come. Which brings me to the last point of logistics. Then you're expected to finish to a certain time with your facade because the building needs to be rain tight, whatever. That's also an issue. So organizing your own logistic, making sure everything works, you've got all the bits and pieces which are necessary, and then making sure it really finishes when you're supposed to finish.
Yeah.
That's a logistic question as well. And then the third chapter, system logistic quality. Quality needs to be considered as well. First, quality, which is what this course is about, is engineering the details correctly. Yeah. So making sure you get everything in there. Size correct, having the tolerances, allowing tolerances movements to be taken, having the interface between the facade and the main structure engineered well. So the whole engineering process has to have a certain quality, and if it fails at some points, things don't fit.
Yeah, but this is the system itself. So therefore,
that's the second one. It's the engineering.
Yeah, okay.
And then the system itself. So what's the quality of the system? Does it deliver what it is necessary?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, in real life, on the building side.
When we start discussing designs, we always think, okay, are we going for this system as a start, or are we going for this system? And then the normal choice is you pick the one with the most information in the catalog, solving all details you may face to be able to take them. Yeah. Because if you get a system which is not having all details solved, you have to solve them yourself. And then the interface gets into a critical situation because you have to find a solution for that. And then secondly, you're maybe not able to get things in the quality you want for performance in time. So quality of system, engineering quality.
Yeah.
And then?
Then we're on the building side.
So
in our case, I can remember that choosing for a wooden stick system was kind of like a joker in our case, because there were a couple of points where the brickwork was already there, and we just shaved a little bit out of the wood. So therefore, in an aluminium mullion, it wouldn't be possible. So therefore, we should have moved the entire facade profile out of the grid and calling the glass guys, hey, we need these 3 elements of glass 50 millimeters shorter. Would have been drama.
Painful. So yes, the quality of the interfaces, are they supposed to be at a certain point, and are they there within, say, the tolerances which we engineer, and then the craftsmanship on site. So for us, well, we are facade experts.
We learned with this thing, and also we had fun doing it.
We learned with this. We also made our mistakes.
Yeah, there's a crack up there.
One over there. That's the say door setting, the tightness. That's something which is the craftsmanship at site. That's also something which really has to be taken into account. Again, we picked a site which we did ourselves, so we actually blame ourselves for the mistakes. That one over there,
but overall it worked quite well. But you can imagine this is a couple of square meters of facade. If you have a huge building, a high-rise building, you want to make sure that
all the aspects.
This multiplies by 100.
Multiply.
And it's kind of like there's more and more. It's kind of like start a race.
We're not talking about contract. That can be also a nightmare. But say this is the situation which we faced in here. Final comment to this: it's never going to be perfect.
Yeah, and you also have to be aware that whatever you draw and engineer, put on paper, ask within the tender process, reality on the building side is different. There is a different dynamic to it. There is a sort of project management involved, that you have to run this project because there is delays. There is also parts being delivered damaged.
Oh yeah, that's
something like that.
Logistic question.
So logistic, for instance, if you have elements that are the same, it's fine. But if you have, for instance, unitized facades, and especially the corners and the top and the the bottom parts, they are different. So you can't interchange them. So then you really are in delay, and you can't put the first row down.
What would we do then, which is a quality question? Then we need to try to act agile. In the means, okay, what do we need to do to continue the process while we parallel solve the problem which is existing? That's also pretty much into, say, the quality of the people. In the end, it's not going to be perfect. There's always something which is going to happen, and you try to move the quality, the logistics, the system, the time as far as possible to the good side. But there's always going to be some issues which are not solved.
I don't know. In the German system, for instance, we also have at the very end of the building, when the building is complete, another round where you actually document what have actually been built. But this is kind of
the
like,
US, the English, the Dutch, they do the same.
okay.
You have the same kind of documenting, but that's then, say, depends pretty much on the tender documents and what kind of quality you expect and how you. But in the end, there's always going to be something which needs to be discussed and then concluded in an say final decision with the one who made it and the one who paid for it.
Yeah.
And here we close
Okay.
our own facade.
Yeah.